Everybody knew how to do their own thing, and everyone knew how to fit with everyone else. It worked very well for us. No, we became highly successful because we did good work.
David Struan Robertson can look back proudly on a career that began in 1946.
I became involved with the Geological Survey of Canada, and I worked in northern Manitoba for 4 years, mapping parts of the country and the like, and enjoyed myself. I found it very intriguing, and I enjoyed the field work.
He did some extremely good work and some extremely good geological thought and geological work in the history of how uranium deposits are formed through geological time and the time-bound nature of those deposits. David's thought on the time-bound nature of uranium deposits was fundamental to directing the way in which people explored for uranium.
I think that what made him different than most technical people was his financial ability, his ability to understand numbers, but understand values and concepts of values.
Born in Winnipeg in 1924, David Robertson went on to receive his Honours Bachelor of Science in Physical Chemistry and Geology at the University of Manitoba in 1946 and received a Doctorate of Geology at Columbia University in 1949. He worked as an assistant professor at the University of Virginia until 1951.
My move to Virginia was the best move I ever made in my life. I met my wife, which was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. We moved to Toronto and ultimately ended up with 3 lovely daughters who are all active in business in Toronto at the moment.
David and his wife moved to Toronto, and he began working for the International Nickel Company. In 1953, he moved to Angola with the E.J. Longyear Company. He became chief geologist and vice president of Stancan Uranium Corporation in 1955.
He started his professional career essentially in the early days of the uranium camp in Elliott Lake, Ontario. There, slightly later, he was responsible for discovering a uranium deposit which ultimately became the Stanrock Mine.
In 1965, he formed David S. Robertson and Associates.
And we expanded from just a Toronto-based organization that only had people active from the Toronto offices to people around the world. We had big offices in Denver and in Australia, and there are very few countries we haven't worked in, really.
David became recognized as an expert in mineral property evaluation.
Later on, in the early 1970s, the NDP government in Saskatchewan decided to nationalize the potash industry in Saskatchewan.
Well, he was part of the team that evaluated the properties for the Potash Corporation when it started. I was executive vice president, so I was responsible in the end for the evaluation, and he was the chief person that actually did the evaluation. I was 35 years old, and I thought there wasn't anything I didn't know about evaluation, and met him with some misgiving, wondering what sort of a person he was. And of course, by the time the first meeting was over, I realized that he knew far more about evaluation and was an extraordinary person. It went without any problem at all, and I think that was a lot to do with the quality of work he did, but also the effort that he made when he talked to the politicians and explained how to value things.
In 1982, his company merged with Curry, Coopers & Lybrand, later Coopers & Lybrand Consulting. He remained a partner there until his retirement in 1987. Following his retirement, he became sought after as a director of many prominent Canadian mining companies. The people whose lives he touched during his career have gone on to great things.
And he gave us tremendous training and tremendous encouragement, to the extent that several of the people who worked for David in the 70s and 80s have since gone on to form their own consulting firms, their own successful consulting firms. He just made sure that everything we did was driven by integrity and independence.
David has received a number of honors for his work in the industry, including having a road named for him in Elliott Lake. At almost 90, he still has a passion for rocks.
Well, geology in itself is fascinating. It's gripping. Once you become involved, it's just something that stimulates you. And it affected my life in fashion such that I carried on, and today, even though I don't do it anymore, I still consider myself a geologist.